Thanks again for joining us here at Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. We're back with our Week 11 NFL review. We're going to break down all the action of another fascinating week across the league. I'm joined as always by my co-hosts, Joe and Byron. Welcome, chaps. Byron, first of all, how are you? How was your NFL Sunday or NFL Week 11 so far?
It's been great so far. Dallas haven't lost, so that's always a good start. A lot of really exciting games though, which we'll obviously get to. But yeah, real fun one.
I think we're a step closer to the Jerry putting the curtains up though to block out the sun in future games. So
he's doing it for Mike Tyson, right? So
we got a screen for Mike McCarthy at his press conference the other day, midweek, when the sun was in his face, and for Mike Tyson, Jake Paul. Apparently, just everybody going to AT&T Stadium this year has to sit through something completely insufferable. So that's just the line for it so far.
I just hope Jerry isn't using the material from the back of Mike Tyson's trousers, because not something we needed to see on Netflix. Oh, it's buffering. Great. We just get to pause on Mike Tyson's cheeks.
Yeah, can't wait for that on Christmas Day when that inevitably happens during whatever it is. It's Chief Steelers, isn't it? Christmas Day, yeah. So, and Joe, busy one for you. How are you doing?
Yeah, better than the 49ers. So, it was a good week. It was, I was disappointed from my end. But yeah, fun one all around. Some teams stepping up, some teams not so much. But it feels like a few more teams have become interesting again, just with some of the results, as what always happens. You can never write off most of the league. So it's a good one. And interesting. A few teams going on to bye coming up who have had some bad losses. So yeah, we'll obviously talk about that and where they go from there.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, it's been a fun one. That's the nature of the playoffs, 7 from each side now. So just means some more teams hang around, keep them relevant, keep some games alive, which is good. Let's start with one of them teams who just about clinging on to being playoff relevant. I don't know. We're going to start with the Chicago Bears, who are just finding new ways to lose. Just when you think that this team can't have any more heartbreaking, devastating losses, they finally have the opportunity to beat the Packers at home, who own them. And the Packers somehow come away with a win again, 20-19. Byron, you're there in kind of in the Chicago area. What have these people done what have these Chicago Bear fans done to deserve this?
Well, they have a coward head coach. I think really doesn't help. Like, incredibly defensive, Matt Eberflus, and he obviously got bailed out last season with the Montez Sweat trade, which worked out really well short term for them. I don't think it's made as much impact as I'd like this year, but I think it's been a fine trade overall. But it's just like, I think it's often the thing with defensive coaches is like the play not to lose, not to win games. And I did see some of it. Kurt Warner was on Twitter earlier today of like, you've got to understand, they might lose yard just to try and make another play. But it's like you've got 35, 36 seconds and a timeout to try and make it a bit more of an easy field goal on your kicker. Like, there's no reason to not. Like, and also, like, just scheme some quick hitters for Caleb Williams. If it's not there for out of bounds, like, it's fine. And to just not do that and just think, hey, we're just taking this one shot at making this makeable field goal, sure, but, like, you could make it a lot easier just by gaining 5 yards. And then it's kind of like the inevitable happens. And again, I don't know who it was on Twitter I seen this morning. They'd done like a cut-up of like Matt Nagy giving the exact same press conference, Mark Trestman giving the exact same press conference. And this is over like 11 years, I think it was, of basically like, I felt we were in a good position to make the kick. I didn't have any thoughts about going any further forward because I felt we were in a good position, And I mean, this one was from 2019, I think, with Matt Nagy. He's like, they kicked on second down then. I mean, Matt Nagy isn't even a defensive coach, but it feels like it's just something like kind of in the Chicago water of like, we're a defensive team, we've got like 85 Bears instilled in us. And you know what? Like, Caleb Williams was balling out yesterday. I think that's certainly his best performance since the bye. He looked rejuvenated with Shane Waldron gone. He was running so well. I'm not saying it would have been easy to get 5 yards because the Packers know you're trying to gain some short yardage to do it, but to not even try, I think it's just...
It was baffling. It truly
I think it's the kind of thing you just put on Matt Eberflus's coaching headstone and go like, hey, you're not cut out for the league in 2024. This is 1980s stuff, and it's not going to cut it. You can't just hope that your kicker makes a kick. And there's a lot of Bears fans complaining as well of the press down on the snapper when he was still had his head down. It's like, yeah, it probably should have been a penalty, but you can't rely on that to, bail you out of bad decision making.
There's so many points on that drive. So many points on that drive where you're just thinking, I can't get the feeling here that the ending's going to be terrible. But I think there's a point here, and they had the ball. Bear in mind, they had the ball. You're looking. They had the ball with 3 minutes and 2 timeouts.
Yeah.
So you've got 3 clock stoppages there with a 2-minute warning, and you've got the whole field to use. You should be getting in a position where it's close. But I think probably the bit for me, they make that 4th down play to Roma Dunze. Huge play, great throw, great catch. 40 seconds before they snap the ball again. But to go from, they were there then, they had 1st and 10 at the Green Bay 42. They were a minute and a half maybe, or there was 90 seconds. By the time you get set up, maybe it was 1 minute 20. Still had 2 timeouts.
Yeah.
And they moved the ball 14 yards with a minute 20 and 2 timeouts. And that's it. And they only run, bearing in mind, they only run 2 plays. But you've got 2 timeouts. You move the ball one throw, 1 rush, and you move the ball 14 yards with 2 timeouts and 80 seconds. It's just insane.
Yeah, it's just negligent. Like I said, it's playing not to lose, and you just can't do that. It's not the 1980s.
Yeah, like I said, I thought you're right. Caleb played well. They caught the Packers a game where Packers weren't particularly smooth. They didn't have a great day. They made some big plays when it mattered. But Jordan Love kind of gave him a bit of a chance with the turnover in the red zone earlier in the game, and that was the game to do it, to break that horrible run they've got at home against the Packers and spark a bit of life. So all of a sudden there, you're 5-5. And the way it is, you've got, even though your schedule's tough, you're still in the mix potentially for a wild card spot.
Yeah.
Packers come out of it 7-3, and obviously in the mix still. Hard to chase down the Lions, you think, but they're definitely obviously well placed to get a wild card spot at 7-3.
Yeah, I have a lot of concerns with the Packers now, though. It feels like it's just kind of. I know Jordan Love, it wasn't a terrible performance by any means, but it's 250, a touchdown interception. It just always feels like, we talked about it being compared to Brett Favre earlier in the season, and it feels like that's kind of gone away a little at the expense of the boom ability. So I think earlier in the season, I thought the Packers, this feels like one of them where you might move down the power rankings with a win. We talked about moving up with a loss last week. Feels like one where you might move down with a win, despite they didn't feel like they deserved to win the game, and you can't beat this Bears team. Yeah, not much to say for it, I don't think. We'll see how. I mean, the Packers, I think, will still qualify for the wild card because they're at 7 wins already. They could surely get another 3 before the end of the season, but I think I struggle to see them pushing on, I guess, in the playoffs.
Yeah. It was on the back of kind of a big Christian Watson performance. He had 4 receptions for 150, made some great catches, particularly one where I love just threw it open somehow under double coverage. He managed to kind of go catch it. Love rush went in as well. But yeah, Packers take on the Niners next week in what feels like a real big game, and the Bears take on the Minnesota Vikings next week. I
know we love our throwback trivia on these things.
Oh yeah,
but this isn't long enough to go to be pop music related, sadly. But do you know when the Bears last beat the Packers?
2017?
I think Joe's got it if he finishes saying the word team.
2018. Yeah.
2018 is correct, yeah. Who was the Packers head coach?
Oh, it's got to be Mike, isn't it?
You'd think it'd have to be Mike McCarthy. No, it was not Mike McCarthy.
Was it the interim?
It was the interim.
Who was it?
But I had no idea till I looked it up because I was curious who the coach was.
Bisiccia? No. Rich Bisiccia? No. Don't know.
It was Joe Philbin,
the
former Dolphins GM, and I have no idea. I have no recollection of him coaching the Packers. I figured Mike McCarthy got sacked at the end of the season, but yeah, he got sacked with 2 games remaining. Joe Philbin. Hopefully history can repeat. But yeah, Joe Philbin, what a career in Green Bay. Be the first head coach to lose Because I mean, before that it was 2015. So yeah, it's quite a record for Chicago, and it continues evermore. They do play again mid-season, but
they do.
Feels like that was the best chance.
I don't think the Bears are going to beat them ever again at this rate. It's ridiculous in that way. It's like, I just think the way the Hail Mary, they've had the double doink. It's just crazy the way that Chicago Bears find ways to take, to get the defeat from the jaws of victory. Whatever way I'm supposed to put that around. Yeah, it is crazy. Right, yeah, that's Packers Bears in the books. Kicking was a theme, I guess, throughout the NFL in Week 11, as it's been the last couple of weeks, really. And I don't want to say poor old Justin Tucker, but yeah, the Ravens fell to the Steelers. Steelers come out on top, 18-16, on the back of 6 Chris Boswell field goals. This is the perfect Mike Tomlin game. I think this is the 3rd win they've had this year without scoring a touchdown.
I remember 2 of them.
It's definitely 2. This is definitely 2. I'm sure there's a 3rd one.
Sounds about right. Yeah, they did start just in the
field. But yeah, 6 Chris Boswell field goals. I want to start. I think I've felt a bit sorry for Justin Tucker until afterwards he was moaning about the field when Boswell kicked 6 fucking field goals. Yeah,
seems a very odd one. I don't quite understand it, but I guess when you're used to being, the GOAT, and things go against you, to try and find something, right?
Yeah, it was just it's bizarre. This just point to bring up afterwards. You just stay quiet, wouldn't you, and just think about cracking on. Boswell hit him long, short. I think it was a 52. Where else was it? 52, some mid-30s ones. There's not many to bloody look up. 57 he nailed. So I don't know what. Yeah, Tucker's. And he's become. It's past the point of it just being a bad run now. He's a liability for this Ravens team.
And he missed an extra point as well. So it's not like they all were like long field goals he missed. There was a fairly chip shot where, it's just that weird thing this year where it got to a point where kickers just feel like machines, and it was like, it's a bit too easy for kickers. Should they make the goalpost small and all this kind of stuff? And last few weeks it feels like there's been quite a few who've missed 2 or 3 in a game, which doesn't really happen. So not good when you're playing when a team beats you who doesn't score 1 touchdown, and you need to rely on him, especially in these close games. But it just feels like who the Ravens are. They just lose these kind of games where whether you expect them to win, but the win was there for them. And if they just kick them field goals, and I think it was similar. They've got the DNA of last year where I think we talked about they could have gone 15-2, 16-1, just with some of the losses they had. And it feels a bit like it this year. And is that going to be their Achilles heel again? Because yes, the Steelers team is a good team, and I think they've proved it now, being 8-2. Obviously, the favourite to win this division, but it was there. You've got the MVP, you've got everything there. You've got Derrick Henry, possibly I think he was the front runner for the Offensive Player of the Year. And you're losing these kind of games. It's just very Ravens-esque, and not what you want to do against a big rival.
Yeah, the Steelers just seem to have this knack, don't they, of containing Lamar. It's not necessarily Lamar did a completely terrible day, but they just have a way of containing Lamar, and they did a real good job of bottling up Henry. And I think, again, these close or Ravens losses, what we see is they don't feed Derrick Henry enough. 13 touches, and I think we've seen this in the majority. I think 3 of the 4 losses he's had less than 20 touches. And it feels like that's not necessarily the solution, but it's about getting him going. And even though he is episode, he still just does sometimes take a bit of time to get going. And it's about breaking down that defensive line and breaking down that front 7 or 8, because that's how, usually what he has to face. And they just didn't commit to it here. And I'm not saying the Steelers would have broke down, but they certainly were getting a bit more joy in the fourth quarter, the Ravens. And you feel if you put a bit more work into that earlier in the game, you might have seen that come through a little bit more. But Steelers, again, defensively, it's almost like they just do enough offensively, but I thought defensively they played unbelievably well. And one of the plays of the year, I think, from linebacker Peyton Wilson, an incredible sort of snatched interception from. Can't think you can blame that. It's a perfect throw from Lamar into Justice Hill, and Wilson just times it perfectly to get in there and grab that. And it's a huge turnover. It allows the Steelers to get 8 points in front as they kick another field goal, and makes the Ravens have to go for the 2-point conversions to tie the game, which ultimately they failed to do. Just an unbelievable play from Wilson out of NC State. We've seen him a bit in the last few weeks, I think, maybe a bit more of a factor. And yeah, I thought he had a tremendous game, as did Patrick Queen, and he made in the build-up. He was not quiet about how he his exit from Baltimore may have motivated him for this one.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. If everyone loves a good revenge game, and if you're going to make a point of it, well, go out and win and shine. Exactly what a revenge game should be, in my opinion. So, yeah, and I couldn't agree more on that Peyton Wilson play. I think that's. I mean, I hate it to be the victim of recency bias, but I think that's one of the best defensive players of the season. I think I've watched it 10 times. I still don't quite know how he grabbed the ball off him, because all Justice Hill has to do is get to the ground or get out of bounds. He's right on the sideline, and Wilson just, big boys him essentially. And I think we talked about this on the draft. Wilson was going to be a great pick. Yeah, there is obviously long-term issues around his knee, but you take a player. Pick 98, 99, it was around 100.
Yeah.
You're fine if you only get one contract out of him if you can play at this kind of level. And like you say, he's been getting better and better as the season goes on. This Steelers defense, I don't think it's as spectacular as it's been in years past, but it's so bend, not break. And when you've got Justin Tucker on the other side right now, that's absolutely fine. You can let him get close as long as you don't let him get in the red zone. Don't let him get in for the 2-point conversion, and you're going to be more successful than not. Yeah, Queen had another big game, and like you said, they just bottled up the Ravens. Zay Flowers had a huge drop, which, I mean, it didn't end up mattering because they scored on the drive anyway, but I think it was just kind of indicative of the Ravens just couldn't keep out their own way, it felt like.
Yeah, and obviously 2 fumbles as well when you lose it by 2. And obviously the interception you throw is just as Russell Wilson looks like he's throwing the game away. The red zone interception, you think, the Ravens are going to go down and punish him, but, they make up for it. But yeah, the 2 fumbles are huge. And yeah, it's just that, it feels like you said, like containment. And it wasn't like a massive game, but again, number 1 wide receiver for the Steelers, 8 for 89 yards. That's for the Ravens. It feels like that's their, week in, week out, the number 1 wide receiver is just getting, plenty of yards, going up to 100. And when you're playing the best teams who have got top class number 1s, and again, it's a continuous issue when a team like the Steelers bottles up your number 1, number 2, and it's Isaiah Likely who's a big player who's further down the chart. So I still do worry about this Ravens pass defense. The run game defense is fine. I think that's fine, but yeah, the pass defense is still a worry, especially when you come up against the AFC heavyweights.
And I had Kyle Hamilton back from this one. So when we recorded, we didn't think he was going to be back, and he was. It really seemed to make too much of a difference. You mentioned Pickens there. You were unlucky, Joe, just 11 yards short of hitting your bet. You were Pickens 100+ receiving yards, plus 310 in just a general stinking week for you, Joe. It was a bad one. And you had Russell and Lamar 2 passing touchdowns each, which didn't hit. But then we hit on our other 4 bets. Me and Byron hit on both. So, Byron, you had the Steelers +3 and under double at +270. I had them as 2 singles. And you also hit both teams under 24.5 points for +200 as well. So, yeah, some good value there for sure, doubling up on the Steelers and the under. And then, yeah, as a result, both teams under 24.5 made sense as well. So, yeah, 2-to-1 shot. Great run there. 4 out of 6, not bad. Joe, you need to start pulling your weight. Steelers. Thursday night football this week as they play the Browns in Cleveland. Ravens partake in the Harbaugh Bowl on Monday Night Football against the Chargers.
Oh, I love that. That's a great matchup.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's Monday Night Football. So, yeah, Ravens fall 7-4. Steelers 8-2. Yeah, it felt like a massive game, but you can kind of get to 2.5 games really ahead now. All of a sudden, the Steelers and potentially a bit of a game and a half. I've done the maths wrong there. It's a game and a half, isn't it? Yeah, that's right. Thanks. By winning, as they've not already had the bye week. On to then the Chiefs and Bills. Chiefs undefeated. start to the season ends as they drop to 9-1 as the Bills beat them 30-21, and the Bills go to 9-2 on the season. And this was all about one man, really, wasn't it? It was about Josh freaking Allen. We kind of talked about, or I certainly did in the preview round. Don't know if Amari Cooper's going to play. Keon Coleman's out. Dalton Kincaid's out. I think they're going to really struggle to move the ball, and they didn't really. I think they had, Khalil Shakir had a big game again, doing what he does best with yards after the catch. Yeah. Curtis Samuel stepped up, and then Josh Allen, apart from kind of like they struggled to run the ball apart from Josh Allen.
Yeah, I think James Cook went like 10 for 20. Ty Johnson had a few, and just talked there about Peyton Wilson having one of the best defensive plays of the season. I think I'm not going to say it's hard to compare best play offensively of the season, but I think the most iconic play of the season is going to be that Josh Allen run. It was just if he wins his MVP this year finally, I think that's going to be the play that you repeat over and over in that moment. Fourth down, to ice the game. And, credit to Sean McDermott, who is a defensive head coach, but he's not got his Matt Eberflus diaper on. He's actually going for it. He's got his big boy pants and puts his game in his best player's hands. Yeah. Makes sense. And, it wasn't a called scramble. It was a pass that Josh Allen seen. There was a run to get the first down. And then once he got going, I can't remember who it was now. I seen on, I think it was Blue Sky on Twitter last night, Josh Allen entered freight train mode. And he was just like, yeah, I'm going for a touchdown here. You ain't stopping me.
It's a bit crazy that the Chiefs didn't have a spy there, just because you think, the number one threat of this Bills is Josh Allen running.
It felt to me, and I hate to say it to you, Joe, but it felt to me like you remember the third down with the Chiefs 49ers Super Bowl last year, where there was nobody on Mahomes, and Mahomes just went for the first down. It felt exactly the same. Of it's the biggest moment. You're not thinking this guy's going to keep the ball in his hands and get it himself, because that's what he does. And the 49ers slipped for it in the Super Bowl, and the Chiefs fell for it here with Josh Allen.
I get that. I feel like Mahomes is one of them sneaky ones where that makes more sense because his main game is throwing, but it feels like Josh Allen is 50-50 where it is his throwing, but it's his legs, which is obviously when we talked about Josh Allen's records with, it was it gets a touchdown every half a game or something daft like that, where that's ridiculous, where it's the number one play, if Josh Allen's going for a run, he normally gets it. So I understand what you're saying. I just think it was a bit, it feels like un-Chiefs. It feels like that kind of defense would have someone like that, where you would just be like, oh, they've stopped him on the fourth, and then the Chiefs go down and win it. It felt like it was going to be that kind of sequence, but the Bills pulled it out, and it sets them up for the coming season. I think the Chiefs are going to be fine, though. I think only thing I worry about for the Chiefs is, they're going to have, I still think they're going to have the number one record when the next two games, they've got Panthers and Raiders the next two, so it's not too bad to recover from this loss. It's just they've not been, they've not had that killer instinct what they've had the last few years, and they've not been, but, I say that now, we sat here and talk about the Chiefs repeating because they've just turned it on in the playoffs. But, well for the Bills.
So Josh Allen in the playoffs and he fell short.
Exactly. So at least now we can stuff about this unbeaten bit, because it just felt like that was going to be such a bit. And it was like, okay, the Chiefs have finally lost one. I know that. And, but, and Mahomes is still chucking them interceptions, which is not like him. I wonder if is he leading the league now? He must be. I know he was leading. We got number 2 today. So yesterday.
I think you're right. I'm not too worried about it. You know what? Probably a good thing for him to get it off the backs and losing in Buffalo. There's no shame going to Buffalo and losing. And I think, look, if them two meet again in January, I don't think it's going to be a 9-point game. Come January between the two. So, it was just, I was really impressed with the Bills. I must admit, I thought they played kind of well in all facets, and thoroughly deserved the win. Josh Allen MVP moment, as you mentioned there, Byron. Look, not playing scared, but you put the ball in the hands of your best player and go out and win a football game. And to be fair, the way the defense was playing, I think it's the right move. That worst case scenario is you leave them such a long field. I was really, really impressed with the the Bills. Chiefs as well, yeah, just seemed a bit hit miss. She struggled moving the ball on the ground a lot more this week than other weeks. Xavier Worthy had a bit of he sort of stood out a bit, I think, especially early on. He was getting the ball a lot. And I was kind of thinking, I think I mentioned in our group, look, is Worthy going to tear the Bills apart here after the Bills let the Chiefs go up and get him in the draft? So, but yeah, just feels like someone needs to step up for the Chiefs and just be that consistent one. We've seen, obviously, Kelsey had a couple of big games recently, but he was real quiet. And I think you mentioned there 11 different players caught the ball for Kansas and Kansas City, and he just needs someone to start dominating. I think because he needs one of those wide receivers to start dominating. I think, and we'll see if that comes or if they just find other ways to do it. But onto I'm not sure if I want to be the Carolina Panthers next week. Now the Chiefs are huge 11-point favourites, but it feels like there might be a bit of a response. And the Bills are on a bye as well, so an opportunity to kind of get some of those weapons back as well.
And I think with Pacheco coming back as well for the Chiefs, I think that's like as good as Hunt's been. It's not Pacheco. He's not got that explosive, especially pass catching. So that's huge for them and get some of them other players back. So yeah, I'm not too worried. We'll see.
I did see kind of a fascinating stat, which kind of makes sense when you think about it because of how the Chiefs have been this year. They've only been leading on 35% of their offensive snaps this year, which is 16th in the league. And they were 9-0. Well, they're 9-1 now, obviously. You'd think they'd be leading for more than a third of the games on offense, but yeah, a lot of late wins and overtime victories. So it does make sense. It just feels one of the weirder 9-0 teams, I think, in terms of performance. So yeah, loss was coming, and like you say, it's not going to kill them. So
not at all. Yeah, kind of Bills are kind of in dormant territory for the AFC East, almost a 5 clear. Chiefs are 2 clear of the Chargers. Could the Chargers make that interesting? Well, they got a big win on Sunday Night Football. Held on to beat the Bengals. It felt very much like this was a Chargers of old performance. They looked really good early on, and then they just let the Bengals back in the game. I say Joe Burrow was fantastic again. I don't know what more or if there's any more he can do to win games for this Bengals team, because if it's not the defense just not turning up for an entire first half, kicker Evan McPherson missing 2, you're expecting him to make those kicks, especially in LA as well. Like, there's no outdoor environment really element to it in perfect conditions. Again, we talked about the other week. You've got to make one play to win a game here. And the Bengals just couldn't do it again, and they fall short. And J.K. Dobbins with a decisive touchdown run to clinch the game for the Chargers, who, especially in the first half, Justin Herbert looked incredible.
Yeah, he hasn't had the full season. He came into the season injured already, but I'm not sure there's many quarterbacks playing better than either of the quarterbacks in this game, truthfully. I know Josh Allen is favourite for MVP, rightly so, but man, I don't know. Burrow, just it's got to be one of the best performing quarterbacks on such a bad team in recent history. I can't think of one off the top of my head, certainly, who's been this good, it feels like, on a weekly basis.
This is like Tony. This is reminds me of old Tony Romo games where he was just carrying the Cowboys to be competitive game after week after week.
Yeah,
so many things handicapping him.
A good shot. But yeah, Justin Herbert and this team, like I said, to me, they're not the Chargers anymore. This is the Los Angeles Chargers. The culture is so important, and this team shows you why it is. They're competing for this division. They can beat the Chiefs. No, they can beat every team in the NFL because they defend really well. They run the ball really well. Justin Herbert is as good as any quarterback in the league, I really believe, right now. And again, why I took them on our ATS competition was the Bengals can't keep out of their own way, and the Chargers just wait for you to get in your own way. Yeah. That's how they win games, because they're coached so well. Jesse Minter's doing a great job as DC. Harbaugh's already talking about losing him come the head coaching cycle in January, and I'm sure he'll be hoping he doesn't, but you could see why he would, because you look at this team from last year to this year, and it is night and day.
Yeah,
and it's not like coming into the season, we weren't going, oh, look at all the skill talent on the Chargers. We looked at them and thought, oh yeah, this is finally the year where there's not going to be any hype around them because it'll be next year. Harbaugh's obviously a great coach, but it'll be next year when he finally gets things settled, and it isn't. It's this year. It's immediate. His relationship with Justin Herbert is exactly what you would want a head coach quarterback relationship to be, I think. And yeah, Lad McConkey's shining again. And what I have loved as well with the Chargers, or the Charbours, should I say, is Justin Herbert has got wheels.
Yes.
And for so long, it just never happened. It was always just like drop back, pass, drop, and he's brilliant at it. But you see him running now, and you're like, why has he not been doing this for 4 years? I have no idea, but...
I think the injury earlier in the season held him back, didn't he? Already seen it more as to the ankle, but... Yeah, I mean, that was a little bit... One thing, again, just with this Chargers team, this is any other Chargers team, any other year loses this game from that position.
J.K. Dobbins fumbles it.
Yeah,
he fumbles it through the back of the end zone, and the Bengals go down and kick a field goal.
Yeah, this would be very much for kind of a long time. I was watching this was going, this was reminding me so much of the Chargers Jacksonville playoff game where Trevor Lawrence and the Jags came back on him from an even bigger lead, but they just tightened up and made the plays down the stretch. They struggled in the second half, really moving the ball. They got away from the run, which annoyed me because I almost hit that treble parlay where they just didn't get enough rush attempts, but they just stopped running the ball, which I just found very bizarre. I think they ran it once on like it's in 3 drives. It was very odd. And that allowed the Bengals back in the game. To be fair, the Bengals front did tighten up. The defense that was useless in the first half stepped up in the second half up until Dobbins' touchdown run. They only allowed 3 points in the second half after 24 in the first half. And it's just, you just can't get it all working together for the Bengals. The defense stepped up second half. Offense was great until the last couple of drives where it just couldn't get it done. Yeah. And then special teams let you down. McPherson, usually such a dependable kicker. Yeah.
It's funny, it sounds exactly like we've just said about the Ravens. On like a different level to a degree. Like obviously the Ravens have outperformed the Bengals on the season, but it's the exact same things. Defense can't defend well enough, and that crucial line of like special teams is letting you down, and you can't really have 2 of your 3 units, being subpar if you really want to go far in the season.
And especially like when you look at, I think we chatted about this last time, the Bengals have only beat the Panthers, Giants, Browns, and Raiders. They're the only 4 teams to beat. Obviously, the teams they've lost against, other than the Patriots, are probably all favourite to make the playoffs. But if you can't beat them, you don't deserve to be in the playoffs, basically. So
yeah, so it looks like it's too big a hill to overcome now. We sort of said this one was key, wasn't it? Given the potential tiebreaker it's going to have for a wild card spot.
I think I would honestly, obviously, they have to be all the thing I'm thinking is if they beat the Steelers, which is huge, if they beat the Steelers, then they do have the Cowboys, Titans, Browns. So then you're 8-7 going into the last 2 weeks, and you've got the Broncos and Steelers. So I'm just not confident that they're going to beat all them teams, that they're going to beat the Steelers, basically.
And that Broncos one would be huge in that scenario because the Broncos are the 7th seed right now, I believe, with 6 wins. So, if the Broncos lose a couple, if that gives them 1 game apart at that point. But yeah, crucially, like you said, they need to start winning them games because it's baffling how they haven't won any of these close games. And NFL.com gives them a 10% chance of making the playoffs currently.
Still just a heartbeat going, still just a flicker.
Yeah. Paul's still going to vote them number 10 in our power rankings.
I can't sadly, but Bengals dropped 4-7, Chargers had 7-3. It was a good result for. By the way, I didn't mention it in Chiefs Bills. I should have done. We went 0-6 on our bets in Bills Chiefs. That was a stinker, and we were 1-5 here. Byron hitting a Will Disley touchdown, anytime touchdown. Lovely pass up the seam from Justin Herbert, plus 310. So 3-1. You had a pretty good day, Byron, to be fair. Week including Thursday night football as well. So
my highlight game bets more so than my actual bets.
Jansen Free, good movement for my future. I I don't know what to do. I don't know whether I can cash out for a little bit of profit. So I think I should just take that now. 60-1 Chargers future offering a profit payout. I think it's basically just short of 2-1. So from a 60-1 bet, I know that's not a lot of movement. If they beat the Cardinals in that first one, have been 8-2 at this point.
Nah, let it ride. They're beating the Ravens next week.
The Harbaugh Bowl, I don't know. We'll see. It's in LA as well, though.
He owes him after the Super Bowl in Louisiana.
Yeah.
Just don't get Beyonce doing the halftime show and you'll be fine.
So yeah, Chargers 7-3 and well on course for a playoff spot. That's the 4 games we are focused on in depth. Let's head to our 4-fold challenge. Struggle this week, wasn't it? And mine and Byron still haven't finished, but I've just removed Joe from the pod. Sorry, Joe. I'll get there.
How much of a struggle it was. You're gone.
You're gone. Yeah, struggle this week. So shout out, again, I guessed elite wages, also a struggle. So far, we're only hit 1. Joe, you were 1-3. Elite wages was also 1-3. Me and Byron, courtesy of having opposite sides of the same total game, are 1-1 so far heading to Monday Night Football. So we could potentially be 2-1 as a best, but a tough week for us. Yeah, Byron, your underdog, you took the Chiefs, understandably, 2-point underdogs against the Bills. That didn't hit. We've talked about that game. You're sitting on the Texans as your favourite. Texans Cowboys on Monday Night Football tonight. Colts Jets. You were on over 44 Colts Jets, which turned into a bit of a fun game. It was 28-27 to the Colts. Andy Richardson came back. 3 touchdowns, 1 through the air, 2 on the ground, including him running people over at the goal line, which I always wince given his injury history. But Jesus Christ, he can't half-lower a shoulder. And the Jets 3-8 are just gone.
I don't know if you saw the stat. Yeah, I don't know if you saw the stat of Rodgers. It was like the winning record is something like 20% and is below Sam Darnold and Zach Wilson, who were like in the 30s. So it's an absolute disaster. And it's just, I think I was wanting the Jets to do well, but as the season's gone on, I'm like, nah, let's make it burn in New York. It just feels like that kind of place. But
do you think Rodgers retires after this season?
Well, he wants to play again next year, doesn't he?
He wants to play for 2025. So
okay, yeah.
I think a lot of Jets. I think a lot of Jets fans are thinking he'll probably go somewhere else and then.
You think he'll leave after this season?
Are the Jets that bad that they've just got to blow it all up? That's the problem where it's getting that bad now, and they're just gonna have to get rid of GM, backroom staff, and if you do that, you probably have to get rid of Rodgers as well. Because which head coaches want to come in and basically not run the show? Your quarterback's running the show, so
Nathaniel Hackett's available.
There you go.
One last ride.
Yeah. Or Mike McCarthy might be, so they might
reunion. There you go, reunion, yeah.
Joe Philbin also available, so
all the head coaches.
Yeah, I'll get all the lads back.
It was crazy. They managed to get their first down. Came with about 2 minutes to go in the first half.
And do you see all the fans cheering as well?
Yeah, the ironic cheers were fantastic. Crazy how they managed to put up 27 points, really, considering that it took them.
Yeah, I was going to say they obviously got that first down, and then they just went like touchdown, field, and then they were like up, and you're like, oh, how have the Jets done that? They were 30 points behind. They were showing like stats. I think Rodgers and Manning are the most comebacks, being 13 points down. Something like stupid stat like that. So you just thought, oh, the Jets are going to win this, but the Jets have got Jets, and the Colts are going to Colts. It feels like this year, where they're somehow 5-6 after all their issues as well.
Yeah, they scored on 5 of the next 6 drives. They scored, including that one touchdown, it was 5 or 6 drives they scored on. To get to 27. I was sat on the under sitting pretty going, but they're not going to score all day here. And then, they got going pretty solid 2 touchdowns. But Andy Richardson, just a word on him. Look, I've been very, very critical of Andy Richardson, but shout out, he had a great game. Again, a bit of a mix of his usual highlights, take some great deep balls. Obviously, ran it pretty well as well, in and around the goal line. And he had a real solid game. Josh Downs had a decent afternoon's work as well. Byron, you were just a bit short on Adonai Mitchell prop. You're after over 50 receiving yards. You just had the 1 catch for 33. But he did look a lot better. So maybe that 2 weeks sat on the bench has done him the world of good.
Yeah, I mean, the offense looked night and day again from Joe Flacco. So I was very critical of the Colts naming Flacco at the start of the rest of the season. I felt that was absolutely stupid, and to go back on it after 2 weeks. But crucially, they did go back on it because, you can't just swallow it because you've said something. Like, you do need to coach what's the best of your team. And, we don't see practice. We don't see how the, locker room's responding, but they certainly responded to him after the game. I don't know if you've seen the post-game scenes. They were obviously delighted for Anthony Richardson. I'm delighted for Anthony Richardson as well because he's not had an easy time of it. Some of it self-inflicted, obviously, but I don't like to see young players get cast off so early in the career. And I was just really pleased that he had such a big game. Josh Downs is their wide receiver 1 now. Michael Pittman isn't that old, but he feels really washed. He had one big drop where Richardson hit him very cleanly and he just banged off his hands. I think, get Adonai Mitchell more involved, get Downs as much of the ball as he can take, because Josh Downs is, if you play PPR fantasy, he's like a cheat code. He's always open, eats up targets, eats up the ball. I think he only got 5 targets yesterday. Somehow they're still out targeting Michael Pittman. It just stop doing it. It's not for the good of your team. But yeah, I was really pleased to see Richardson get going. I think that might have been his best start yesterday, actually.
I think it's his best game, yeah.
Yeah, he might have had some bigger fantasy numbers last year when he was running more, but just as a pure quarterback, I think that was his best game he's had so far. So, yeah, 2 weeks maybe has helped. Maybe playing the Jets helps as well. But yeah, I'm just really pleased to see him get going again because, like I said, I don't like to see young quarterbacks or young players generally get, writ off so early in the career when he was always a project. So,
yeah. And can we give a shout out to a Leeds legend's son getting a catch for the New York Jets today? Was it nephew?
Yeah. Big Ken.
Big Kenny there. But yeah. But is he going to get to a point where is it free Garrett Wilson? Because again, how is someone that good just not,
18 yards?
Yeah.
You got to make targets as well. Rodgers. I mean, obviously he looks terrible to be fair in stretches. But yeah, I don't know. You think they're going to have to draft somebody, right? And the way they're going, they might be in top 10 and
easily,
go for rough for the Jets. Jets run a bye, I think. Yep, Jets run a bye. Colts host the Lions next week. That could be a real fun game. I think put me down for an over there. Lions Colts like an over there. I think it's 50. So, on to the push, Byron. So you were under on Broncos, Falcons. Jesus Christ! I think I'm with you. I think the Atlanta Falcons are terrible. Dear God, they're in trouble.
Yeah. Well, I think I said before the game, it just feels like both teams should be 6-5. It just feels like that kind of, they're both like that. So that's why I'm for the Broncos. And, I think me and Byron mentioned Kirk Cousins was going to struggle against this defense. He can't move. And yeah, they've left the door open for the Bucs and now the Saints, which we'll get on in a bit. It's crazy that they just can't win this division comfortably. And I think I love Byron's bet why play the start of the year that the Falcons just get knocked out in the wild card, because I still think they'll sneak out this division somehow, but they're just going to get blown out by whichever team comes the highest wild card team. They're just just not great, no defense, and Bo Nix looking good. I still think. I was going to say there's a chance with.
Is there a chance that he beats Daniels to Rookie of the Year?
Well, I think we forgot to mention. Obviously, everyone's starting to mention the Kingsbury dip, where everywhere he goes, they start off hot, and Cardinals did this all the time, and it just went downhill second half of the season when they got tape on them. And the last few weeks, Daniels has not been as good. He's got the spectacular players, and they're not winning as much. So if they start going downhill, only sneaking to the playoffs, and Bo Nix keeps playing how he's playing, then it's there for the to judge it, because as we've mentioned plenty of times, these awards are usually given to the last 6 games in how a player plays compared to how they start the season. So I think he's definitely got a chance because he's playing the best probably than any other quarterback the last week too.
And I think crucially as well, Jane Daniels since his rib injury doesn't look the same.
Yeah.
So, I expect now the Eagles to go away with the division, which is telling. I know it's not everything. I don't expect the Broncos to win their division, obviously, but I think the second half always plays stronger than the first half because you forget the first half, and it's not as impactful as the second half. Bo Nix is playing so well. I can't believe it. I was not high on him coming out of college. I didn't like the fit in Denver, but he does everything that he's asked of. He's such a good mover. It's not like he has a loaded cast either. And just one last thing, Joe, when you mentioned the Kingsbury dip there, my first thought was that sounds like something Marks and Spencer sell as a beautiful to go with your chips. But yeah,
the what's it called? The Fosbury flop. High
flop,
jump technique is what I thought of when he said it.
Yeah, I just want to try some Kingsbury dip though. I'm trying to imagine what it'll be, but it sounds delicious. But yeah, just eat it in the first half of the day because second half it'll get sour. So
yeah. Plus 450 Bo Nix for rookie of the year, and yeah, he was incredible. He was 28-33. Yeah, 28-33, 307 yards and 4 passing touchdowns. Phenomenal stuff. And your boy Byron Marvin Mims
is going. He's going nearly 50 yards, touchdown. I don't have his return stats here. Oh yeah, I do. 357 on punt returns.
Yeah.
He was rolling, but like I think me and George said on the preview, Kirk Cousins can't deal with pressure up his gut.
Yeah,
he can't move. He still can't. I mean, he's outshining Aaron Rodgers hugely, considering the delays in their Achilles injuries. You'd think it'd be the other way around, but yeah, like Joe said, I think the Falcons are leaving the door open for the Bucs to go in and grab that division because Falcons are so hot and cold.
I didn't get to see this game. What happened? Like Tyler Algier didn't get one rush.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I didn't hear anything during the game.
Obviously, they only ran for 50 yards and 2.4 average and 21 rushes, so no one got going. But it's just strange that usually if Robinson's not going, you just bring the big back. Be like how the Bears managed to do it, where they had Swift. If Swift wasn't going, they got Johnson instead to barrel out other people. It's just strange team.
Yeah, he had one catch for minus yard, I think, as you said. Yeah,
and
he'd been injured in the run up though.
Okay.
I think so. He'd had a quad injury and didn't practice a lot, so I don't know if that played through. But I certainly didn't see him. There wasn't any major report on the game or during it to say he's gone down. So yeah, strange. And also, speaking of which, Audric Estime, who daily fantasy players around the world screwed by Sean Payton because there's a huge anybody who does any content for daily fantasy was screaming about Audric Estime and how underpriced he is and how he's going to be the Broncos' number one running back. And because 5 and Knicks rushed the ball, different players, so it was spread around. Nobody got to 10 carries, and Javonte Williams was the most used rusher. So yeah. We just don't believe Sean Payton.
Yeah, good rule for life.
Yeah, and I would say going forward, with this Falcons, they're on the bye next week, but then they've got the Chargers and Vikings, which is not favourite for. And then you look at the Bucs, who have got Giants, Panthers, Raiders. So, in 3 weeks' time, it could be completely flipped. And
I think the Bucs play the Panthers twice down the stretch as well, off the top of my head.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
So
and the Cowboys.
Yeah, it really is I think they have one tough game the rest of the season. It might be the 9. Oh, no, they've already played the Niners.
It's the Chargers.
Chargers, yeah. So they have one toughish game the rest of the way. And they get Mike Evans back next week, probably.
Yeah, massive.
So, I don't know what price you're getting on the Bucs. You'd been better before this embarrassment from the Falcons. Where, I took, like we were saying, we went on, the over-under push gate, here. And I didn't expect it to hit the under. I thought the Falcons might. I think I even said it might be 17-10 or something. I thought the Broncos will just bully the Falcons. I didn't think they'd bully them like this. I didn't think they'd put 30 points. I thought they might get 22, 25. I did not see 38-6 in the range of outcomes here. I thought the Falcons would lose. I thought they'd be poor offensively, but you never know what you get with the Falcons, and this just kind of further emphasizes it.
Yeah, whenever I seem to favour them, they just put up an egg. Like the Seahawks went and hammered them a few weeks ago. I was on them big then. I really fancied them. I didn't back them. I just picked an ATS because I was had the over, but I'd really fancied them here, and they just didn't turn up at all. Buccaneers, if you're interested, the Buccaneers at NFC South Division are 4-1, so plus 400.
Ooh,
I think that's great value.
Yeah, I was expecting shorter than that.
Yeah,
and
Falcons 5-1 on at the minute.
So yeah, the what to one on?
So minus 500, 5-1 on. Yeah.
Okay, that's a lot short. Shorter than I expected. We do need to say as well, like the real king of the NFC South remains Sean Payton. 4-0 on the season against the NFC South. He's never lost a game since he left. He's only played those 4.
But 4 hammerings as well.
Yeah.
What was it? 126 to 30 something, I think it might have been.
Well, I don't have the numbers.
Over the numbers, I was seeing that earlier today, yeah, because they obviously hammered the Saints on Thursday Night Football, hammered the Falcons. They went into Tampa and upset the Bucks after they, on the back of them beating the Lions, and obviously they hammered the Panthers, didn't they? So
he should have got his sweeping brush out. He should have definitely for like finishing off the NFC. So
King of the South, Sean Payton. Falcons 6-5 on the bye, Broncos 6-5, and they've got the Raiders next in Vegas. So chance for the Broncos to get to 7. Moving on, Joe. Then, so Byron, you're 1-1-1 pending the outcome of Monday Night Football. Joe, stinker for you, just terrible week for you, really. Full start. 1-3 and your 4-4, but your favourite did hit, which was the LA Rams.
No, just.
Yeah, it just didn't feel. I mean, it looked like it was going to be comfortable.
Yeah.
The Rams, Patriots. It was Puka Nacua. It was Cooper Kupp. Both over 100 yards. Puka Nacua made an unbelievable touchdown diving touchdown grab. Stafford 4 touchdowns, 295 yards. But this Drake May kid can
Yeah. I think, again, we talk about this a lot, but I think the Patriots, again, they've lost, but they might go up in my power ranking because they're in these games, they're showing something. Drake May is making them a lot more fun. And, the fact they were 28-13 down, and I thought this is comfortable, this is going to be easy, and they got it all the way back to just 6 points. Certainly made me sweat for this one, so at least I got 1. And just I just don't trust the Rams again. I think I've said this last few weeks. I think they can put good performances in, but they're not blowing these teams away, and they're just letting these teams in. And if Puka and Cooper and Kupp's not doing anything, then it feels like a bit of a struggle. And I expected them to win more comfortably and actually show who they really are. But,
when you look at that Stafford line as
win's
well,
a win. Yeah.
When you look at that Matthew Stafford passing line, you think, this will have been a comfortable day. 18-27, I think it was. 295 yards, 4 touchdowns. You think, well, there's not much more you can do to, you're going against Patriots. This will be a 15, 18 point win here. And no, it's somehow kept close. Not what you really want to expect to see. A shout out to Vidarian Lowe, the most unlikely touchdown scorer of the day. Someone I've literally never heard of and had to Google it exists. He exists, not it.
Big man, we love a big man touchdown.
Oh, can't be it. Nothing better. But yeah, Vidarian Lowe, a name I've literally never heard before. So we love to see that.
Yeah. But yeah, I really say, look, I think the Patriots might have something here in Drake May. I always get a bit carried away, but since he's come in, I think obviously he's going to have rough moments. I suppose the interception that killed the game off. But yeah, just he's fun. He makes a mix of kind of he's real solid most of the time, and then he just has kind of flashes of like wow moments. I'm a big fan, and I think the Patriots at this point for 11 weeks sat with 3 wins and a quarterback they can build on for the future. And this is kind of if you ask them how they want, what's kind of how do you think the season will go? If they got this, they'd snap your hand off for it. Especially how rough it was looking early on. So yeah. Well done, Patriots. Rams moved to 5-5 in that NFC West where everybody's just sitting around the same record. Patriots 3-8. Rams are on, I think they were on a primetime game. They've got the Eagles next week, the Rams, and the New England Patriots are they on a bye? I want to say the Patriots are on a bye.
I think they are.
No, Patriots got the Dolphins, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Patriots are in Miami, so yeah. Cool. We've already done this game. Next up then is, Joe, you had Bengals Chargers under. It wasn't the case. Ended up a high-scoring game. Packers, Bears over. That missed field goal at the end obviously screwed you.
2-point conversions failed as well. It was just, when it was like 10 points straight away, I was like, oh, I'm easily going to hit this over. And it was just painful just to sit on 39 at the end.
Yeah, it's just a bit of an insight how it feels to be a Chicago Bears fan, I guess, for you there. And then you also took the Browns as 1-point underdogs against the Saints. In what forever will be known as the Taysom Hill game.
Yeah, it just did everything, scored touchdowns, threw interception, fumbled, then, rushed for a few more touchdowns. It was just,
Caught the ball. He did everything. He did everything but kick.
Yeah, he rushed for 138 yards. That's nuts. If you'd put that on your Sunday leader, and if it actually hit the Taysom Hill rushing,
we
picked the wrong. He would have won some big money.
Picked the wrong week to put him in our fantasy game day team after we took the chance last week, and this would have been the week to do it, wouldn't it? Yeah, 138 yards on the ground, 50 more in the air. He had a pass, 18 passing yards as well, along with his interception, a fumble. Yeah, he just did it all.
It is like a player from the 1930s. He's out of his time.
Yeah.
Or it's like Poundland Josh Allen. Like, whichever way you want to go with it. He's so peculiar. And I love it. Like, it's so
he's great. I'm a big fan. He's great. And you were up against him in fantasy as well, ain't you, Byron?
Yeah.
In our league, yeah.
I'm Saquon Barkley.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I've lost this week, so that's good.
But another MVS game as well. How many more weeks do you think there's something where he gets cut by the Saints and ends up back on the Chiefs? Do you think that's a possibility?
Just in time for the playoffs, obviously.
Yeah. Saints won this one comfortably by 21, but
another kicker missed two field goals. He missed 3 technically because he missed one. There was a penalty for holding somehow on a missed field goal.
Closer.
And he got closer and missed again. So he missed 3 field goals in the space of like 6 minutes. And and he got to 14-14 as well. So I was like, 14-14. I thought everything was going well. And then, Taysom Hill just kicked into gear. And then suddenly it was touchdown. And
he missed from, so it was 32. And then there was the penalty. And then he missed from 32 and then missed from 27. How do you miss a 27-yard? And it was the exact same miss as well. He just pulled it left by a mile. Dustin Hopkins. Has he been cut today? Because I feel like that should have happened. Yeah, he can't miss
I don't think.
Two field goals within 35 yards. Like,
they play Thursday, so they better get on with it.
Yeah. Insane. Jameis had a decent game, to be fair. Like, almost 400 yards. Didn't say, no interceptions. Didn't turn the ball over. And you think kind of that stat line, 30 for 46, 395, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. You think you'd have a real good chance of winning the game.
He lost by 21.
Lost by 21. I guess
I think that's just the Browns again. We said what some of these stats just like say the teams. That's just the Browns stat there. Your quarterback goes near 400 yards and loses by 21.
Yeah, huge Jerry Jeudy game as well. It kind of came out of nowhere, really, didn't it?
I mean, an 89-yard touchdown always helps, right? So, but in QB leaders in catchable air yards per game, so you're not just throwing it deep, you're actually throwing it deep and being catchable per game. Jameis Winston leads the league. He has 25% more than second place. He has 259.2 air yards per game, and Joe Burrow is second with 207.
Wow!
How did he? I know why he didn't get the job ahead of Deshaun Watson, but the Browns must be looking at themselves like, I'm not saying, they lost, so it's not like, they would have won the Super Bowl with Chip. He gives them life at least. Like, this offense is night and day. I'm not saying it's hugely better, like in terms of outcome, but I mean, when you're giving up 130 yards and 3 touchdowns to Taysom Hill, you're not going to win many games. So that's not an offensive problem. But I don't know what the Browns do next year because it looks like they've got another backup who's better than Jameis Winston, than Deshaun Watson. So they probably need to get rid of him because you can't have that in the locker room. Someone that actually, might give your offense a sign of life. And just my one final thing I want to say about this game before we do move on. Can we stop with this Taysom Hill in fantasy as a tight end? This is the seventh consecutive season. He's only been in the league 8, and he didn't have any carries or targets in his first year. So every season he's had at least 1 carry or target. He's had more carries than targets. He's a fucking running back. Like, he's not a tight end by any measure. Like, what did he do that makes him a tight end? The Saints call him a tight end. So what? They don't pay him like one. They don't use him like one. It's a cheat code in fantasy. Like, fair enough, everyone knows, so everyone can draft him. I'm not saying that, but like, it's just ridiculous. Just call him a running back because that's what he does.
Fair. Fantasy Gameday changed him to a tight end this week after being quarterback all season.
Call him a running back, man.
Saints off next week. I think we've covered all of our teams there. Browns host the Steelers on Thursday Night Football. So we had good Jameis Winston this week, which surely means we can get a bad Jameis on Thursday. Surely. Steelers only 3.5-point favourites in that game, which feels short.
Feels trappy, though.
Does feel a bit trappy.
It's the kind of game Tomlin loses after being the Ravens.
Oh, so yeah.
But this guy's taking it. Saints 4-7, riding the interim coach bump. Could they push their way into this NFC wildcard conversation?
I think it's the division that have to push for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got probably the toughest schedule out the two because they've got the Rams, Commanders, Packers on there. And I think for the next, if they beat the Rams, they've got the Giants. So if they win them two games we talked about what the Falcons got, then you're on the same record. And who knows? But they lost the Falcons. Oh no, it's 1-1, isn't it? With the Falcons.
Yeah, 1-1. Yeah.
So, I'm guessing it's that Bucks. Yeah, they got the Bucks end of the year who they lost to. So I think if they can keep it to that game, then they've done a great job. And does the interim Rizzo get the? It'll be a very Saints thing to do to hire him as a head coach.
Yeah, well, look, nobody's going to make a field goal in the Superdome. So Young Wei Koo went 1-3 last week, didn't they? Hopkins has gone 0-2. Nobody's going to make the special teams coach as interim head coach just weaving magic somehow in the Superdome. We'll see if it's the same when they hit the road at some point. That's the last of the games to talk about the 4-4 because my four picks are all games that we've talked about all yet to happen. I had the Packers as 5.5-point favourites. Didn't hit. Let me down. The push on the Falcons, Broncos over. Steelers as the underdog that won outright, and I'm on the under on Texans, Cowboys. So 1-1-1 for me. At best 2-1-1. And then I guessed Elite Wages went 1-3, same as Joey had the same favourite. Rams as 4.5-point favourites. Chiefs is his underdog, over in Steelers Ravens, and under in Browns Saints. So yeah, a rough one. That's been our worst fourfold week so far, I think. By a mile. We still hit 1.5. Let's talk about the rest of the games. We'll touch on the games we haven't talked about so far. And Byron, you had the strongest ATS week, 9-4 heading into Monday Night Football. Joe 7-6, me 6-7. I seem to crush the early slate and then get killed in the afternoon. It seems to be what happens with me. Joe, were you the flip where you nailed a lot of the later games and the early games is where you sucked, and Byron, you just had a good week all around?
Yeah, you went like 6 for 7 in the first 7 games listed, and then not hit one since. Yeah,
lost. Yeah, I just think, yeah. Let's talk about the games we haven't mentioned. Thursday Night Football, me and Byron were on the Eagles Commanders. A lot closer in the end than I think it actually looked, didn't it? Because the Commanders scored a very late touchdown, but close until the fourth quarter, and then kind of the Eagles exploded. And more importantly, Saquon exploded. I hit the Eagles rushing parlay on this one, and I think I'd have hit the Eagles rushing parlay just on Saquon, I think. Oh, no, I need a few more rushing attempts, but the yards and the touchdowns would have hit pretty much with just Saquon. 40 attempts, 228 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns, and I needed over 33, 157 and 2 touchdowns. Yeah, cashed easy. It's down to 3-1 now. It was a 4-1 proposition early in the season, but it's the 5th game in a row the Eagles have hit the over for that parlay. So that treble, so one to keep an eye on. But yeah, Eagles, obviously it was tight for a long time. I think that key moment in it, the fumble recovery, the forced fumble in the recovery that the Eagles got, I think at the end of the third or start of the fourth quarter, and then they just kind of rolled from there.
Obviously, another kicker missing 2 field goals for the Eagles. They managed to...
I think Jake Elliott is 3 field goals in the game, didn't he?
It was a close call, obviously. Washington was winning 10-6 going into the third quarter, and then the Eagles, just like you said, just dominated to the end. like touchdown, ending the game. So
Saquon scored like twice in 30 seconds a game clock, didn't he?
Yeah, obviously with the interception was massive from Danielson. But I'll give a shout to Zach Ertz as well. Another slight revenge game. What a catch for that 2-point conversion. That was crazy. How old he is to get his toes down there. How quick he was looking last year. So yeah, I was hoping for the onside kick if the Washington could get that to make it more interesting because the commentators were like, oh, this is over, this is done, and then when they got the 2-point, they're like, oh no, if they do get the ball back, they could actually get it. It was like, come on, guys, figure out your maths. But yeah, Eagles looking strong. I don't think they looked incredible, but
one player who looked incredible and continues to is Quinion Mitchell. Shut down Terry McLaurin. 1 reception for 10 yards. He's had a gauntlet of wide receivers he's faced, and he's just shutting him down. I think he's playing well as well.
I think you can say Jalen Carter as well because he's looking incredible as well. So the Eagles teams, they're doing the opposite of what they did last year. So which is a lot better way to do it. And like we talked, we'll see what happens with Cliff going forward. But another not inspiring offensive game from.
Yeah, Quinion Mitchell's down to 275 plus 275 for D-Roy. When we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned him at 700 as like maybe if it's not Jared Verse, it'll be Quinion Mitchell. And his case has only got stronger since. I didn't bet on him at plus 709. He was just kind of one I shouted out. But
look, he's going to have another chance. Eagles play the Rams, so you have a chance to maybe match up with Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua and shut another top wide receiver down. He's obviously faced CD Lamb. I know the Cowboys slightly different in terms of the situation they're in, but Drake London, there's just been a run and he's just getting better and better and better. And that Eagles defense is turning into a championship winning defense for me, how good it's been in these last few weeks. And I think Saquon's going to pass Derrick Henry for offensive player of the year as well. He's over 1,000 yards already. Kind of mentioned, obviously, the Eagles had the bias, they're 1 game behind. But I also think there's one team in the NFC that can beat the Lions in come January, and I think it's these Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, and I think what it helps with someone like Quinion Mitchell's case as well is like all these games are on prime time. Well, not all, but like so many of them are island games where if you just on Terry McLaurin on a 1 o'clock on a Sunday, like if you're watching it, you'll notice. But like when it's on an island game, you're like, oh shit, he's had such a big game because you expect Terry McLaurin to have a big game.
Yeah.
Plus 275, I'm certainly not betting it because it's too short, but I think he's giving himself a really good shot to get that on board.
Yeah, Commanders host the Cowboys next week. It's me. I know Dallas are bad. The Cowboys are 10. The Commanders are 10-point favorites against the Cowboys next week. That just seems too big a number.
Yeah,
I know Dallas. So it's on the road where Dallas are better than they are at home.
Yeah, it seems a little tight as well that it goes. Dallas have a Monday to Sunday and Washington have a Thursday to Monday. Thursday to Sunday. It's kind of like the worst of both worlds for Dallas. But 10 days is a lot. We'll see how tonight goes.
Yeah. Just wants to mention, I was the only one on the Saints for our ATS picks. I took the Saints as 1 point underdog. They were 1 point favorite. They were 1.5 point underdogs come Sunday. Byron, you're the lone one on the Bears. Me and Joe had the Colts. The Lions game we've not talked about. 52-6. A shellacking. And when we get to Fantasy Game Day, unsurprising to see kind of a big stack of Lions in the winning team. Doug Peterson still hasn't been fired.
I don't say Doug Peterson still has a job, right?
Yeah.
Well, they're on buy, aren't they? So they've probably got a little bit more time to get rid of him. But I think it was like beforehand they said this is a big game. If they lose, there could be some big changes. And then they didn't just lose, they just got absolutely hammered. And it wasn't even like, if Trevor Lawrence played, it would have been a lot tighter. I think it would have been more or less the same, just how bad that defense was. And the Lions, it felt like the Lions wanted to put 50 on. Like they were just like, we're going to put another 50 on. We're going to show everyone. And that's what they did. And just too good.
Yeah, I'm around St. Brown. Huge game, 11-161 for 2 touchdowns. Jameson Williams, 4 for 124. Montgomery with 2 on the ground. Gibbs with another. Goff 4 touchdowns for over 400 yards passing. I I think I'm right in saying that the Lions outgained the Jaguars by 495 yards, the biggest differential in yards gained since like the 70s.
I have it at 475, and it's third biggest in NFL history.
There you go.
Got that on Mac Jones' resume.
Yeah. Absolutely insane.
Yeah. Beating Lions 9-1. This is them and the Eagles, isn't it? I think for the number one seed, I think it's just a straight fight between them two. I think anybody else is going to crash the party. Yeah, like the Commanders are dropping off. Niners are gash, Joe. Yeah, I think that's it.
It's Vikings on record, but not on play.
Yeah, I think it's between those two. Jacksonville 2-9 and currently hold the number one overall pick.
Might finally get themselves a quarterback.
Yeah, it's a rough one.
I did see a rumor story just quickly. Bill Belichick being hotly linked to the Jacksonville job for 2025.
Why?
It's sunny in Florida. I don't know any other reason.
Yeah. Anyway, we're all on the Lions, all on the Rams, unsurprisingly. Dolphins, Raiders, 34-19. Dolphins 4-6, keeping there potentially again. They're another one to talk about in the mix. I think a couple of wins in 2 wins in a week there after winning on Monday Night Football. I think they're just about alive in the AFC wildcard spot. Do we think Miami can get on a run and get themselves back in the mix?
Yeah, because I think with the difference between AFC and NFC, the wildcard still feels very low in the number of wins. There's the teams who are like running away with their division, but there's lots of teams just like in that middle region. So, if they keep winning and, they've still got the Patriots, Jets twice, and Browns. So, that's 4 wins there if they're 8. So they're still within a chance because they've got the players, but I think it'd be tricky for them just because how, like, even this game, it wasn't like a blowout win. It wasn't the Miami you think of. It was still a struggle against a Raiders team who, are not amazing. And one thing what does annoy me, having obviously Tyreek Hill, we had in our fantasy game day. Where's this Julian Hill come from? Because every time I kept looking, it's like, oh, Hill's caught another one. It's like, oh no, it's just J Hill. It was just J Hill catching these balls. It's just like, oh. There you go. And Jonnu Smith, 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. Whereas having a resurgence in Miami.
Yeah, and I guess just one shout out from the Raiders because their only bright spot is Brock Bowers. We talked about Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix. Is there a way Brock Bowers is on pace to beat Puka Nakua's rookie reception record? We've mentioned at the start of the season that's probably the one that isn't going to be broken for a while. A tight end on this horrendous thing. Bit different. We've got Matthew Stafford chucking you the ball. When you've got Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell, and this is unbelievable what Bowers is doing.
I think you still get Bowers about 25-1 as it was last night. Anyway, it might have come down now.
I think if Puka didn't win it, then why would Brock Bowers win it? I think that's the problem. You got to have where all quarterbacks have a stinker, and it's just how them awards work, unfortunately.
I mean, he stayed in line. I mean, if the Commanders collapse and, let's say, the Broncos collapse, and he sat there on over 100 receptions, I think he's phenomenal. It's the only good thing going for the Raiders at the minute. And I think it's just true. I think almost every week I marvel at another 13 receptions. It's just incredible stuff. So, shout out Brock Bowers doing a great job in a miserable team. Raiders are 2-8. Dolphins 4-6. Raiders have the Broncos. Dolphins have the Patriots next week. Vikings, Titans. Minnesota Vikings are not playing very well, are they? 23-13 in this one, but this was a struggle for the Vikings.
Yeah, I mean, 23-13 says a lot, I think, truthfully. Arnold, I think, played pretty well considering what that number looks like. I think just his general play was certainly not bad. But just struggled to kind of get things done, really. Obviously, they held the Titans to such a low score, but it just kind of felt like two teams who aren't going anywhere, which is weird to say of a team who've just gone 8-2.
Yeah. think again, Vikings. They're going to get in the playoffs. They're going to get in the playoffs, and they're going to lose the first game, aren't they? And that's where that's going. They're away to the Bears next week. 3.5-point favourites. Will Levis, again, was a bit better. Numbers heavily inflated by the 98-yard touchdown pass. But look, he took advantage of the blitz that came. He was back up against, he was in his own end zone, threw a dime, and Nick Westbrook-Akini obviously ran it the way. But it was a fantastic throw. And there was some bits where you saw Will Levis did make some really, really good plays. Still wildly inaccurate. I think 17 for 31, but you need to look for some bright spots at the time.
Yeah, it doesn't help that they went for 33 yards off 19 rushes. Yeah. If you do that, you're not going to do much. And it feels like a loss.
Lead rusher.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit of a lost year, and the Vikings. It feels like the Vikings of a couple of years ago when they had that crazy record, and I think it's going to be a really good game against the Bears, because how the Bears performed, it's a bit like, they could actually sneak a victory and see who this Vikings team are. But it feels like they're destined for the playoffs. But they've still got the Bears twice, Cardinals, Falcons, Seahawks, Packers, Lions. So a lot of the teams all NFC teams going forward, all looking for playoffs. So I'm not guaranteeing they're making the playoffs yet, but I'll be surprised it'll be a bit of a collapse.
And Joe, the last game we haven't talked about is your San Francisco 49ers. I don't even know how they managed to lose. I really don't know how they didn't put the Seahawks away here. Lost 20-17 on last drive and a rushing touchdown from Geno with 12 seconds to go. How did the Niners? Again, this is another game where you just feel they're completely in control. They dominate. Obviously, they didn't put the points up for that, but they just dominated the game. What is going on with the Niners?
It's just who they are this year, I think, was it Debo, McCaffrey? Oh, no, what Fred Warner said is like, as long as we keep doing it, we're the team who gives games away. Like, even the games they've won, they've been ahead by loads, and the teams have been coming back. And I think they've conceded the most amount of points in the last 2 minutes. The defense is just not as good as it once was. I thought that at the start of the year. It doesn't help, obviously, Bosa going out, because he came into this week with an oblique injury, and he's hurt his other side by overcorrecting. Tre'Davious Ward's obviously being out for personal reasons, which is like fair enough, but losing your number one corner for a couple of weeks doesn't help. But it's just annoying that on offense just can't put teams away, which we were doing last year. And you think the 3 games what they gave away have all been in division against the Cardinals, Rams, and Seahawks. If they win them 3 games, 8-2 and 4-0 in the division, but the 5-5, they're just not good enough on offense, and they're just so frustrating to watch sometimes, where they have like a big play, they'll go like 20 yards, and then they'll be run down, they go for 1 yard. Then they'll try and do something fancy with Debo Samuel going around the corner, 1 yard, and then it's third and they punt it from like midfield. It feels like they do that all the time. That they had a chance to kill this game, 4 points up with like 2.5 minutes to go, just get that first down, and they'll put 9 in the box and they can't do an easy play action, and it's just frustrating. And I think I messaged in the group, I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs just with the schedule they've got. Obviously, because the Packers next week, which is huge, they have to win that one. In terms of if they want to get a wildcard position, because they've already lost the Vikings, you got to beat the Packers. You'll be 1 game back and you'll have the head-to-head. So that makes it a bit simpler. They have to beat the Rams and the Cardinals to go 3-3 in division. And then the other games they've got is Lions, Bears, Bills. Might only get one of them.
Horrible run, yeah.
So, if you win, you might go 9-8, and you need that one against the Packers. So they've got no wiggle room anymore to like have a loss against the Packers. I think they'll lose to the Bills, so they've got to go. They've got to win every other game and they got to somehow beat the Lions. I think the best might go 10-7. Oh, they got the Dolphins as well. They might go 10-7. Yeah. I don't know if that'll be enough, but that might be enough for the division. That's the only thing. It's but they got to start
because of the state of it.
Yeah, but the injuries are piling up again. It's just I think Bosa might be out for a few weeks. Obviously, Kittle didn't play. Trent Williams was game time. Debo's not as effective. Obviously, McCaffrey's just coming back. It's
another 100-yard game, another 100 yards from scrimmage again. McCaffrey still looks a bit. He just doesn't have that sharpness yet, does he?
Yeah, well, it's the red zone. It's the red zone
Yeah.
issues, which I said is plagued our season. I think what's most annoying is I can't complain too much. I spot the 49ers the last few years. It's this kind of it's when they should have won 3 or 4 games and it should be like 8-2 instead of 5-5. I'd rather them just be crap and just be like, yeah, they're a crap team, and just forget about it. But it's like every game has to come down to the last second, and we either sneak a win or we lose, and it's just like deflating. It's just I would rather just give up on them now. I feel like
Be careful what you wish for with that, Joe. Jesus. Juwan Jennings, certainly bright spot again, another 10 receptions, 91 yards and a touchdown. He's definitely sort of taking advantage of kind of the injuries and Ayuk.
And that third down play as well was ridiculous, where he basically carried 4 players at like a yard basically to get the keep going. But
phenomenal stuff from Juwan Jennings. JSN had a huge game for Seattle, 10 for 111. And Gino with obviously the key player to rush in. And Seahawks, again, I just thought the Niners would kill them because of how bad that line is. But they've just found a way to win. I think Seahawks it feels like how many teams are on a bye next week? It feels like, the Seahawks have the Cardinals. Seahawks host the Cardinals, and the Niners have got the Packers, as you mentioned. So that's the
and that was Gino's first win against the 49ers. He had the worst record against the Niners. It was 0-5 going into this game. So,
congrats, Gino.
Might be his first win against the Niners, but since he became the Seahawks starter in 2022, it is his 10th game winning drive, the most in the NFL in that time. And when asked about it after the game, Mike McDonald was asked, Geno Smith with the ball and 2 minutes left, is he as good as anyone in the league? Mike McDonald says, numbers say so, the tape says so, I say so. Co-sign. My fucking man. I love Geno Smith.
Excellent. Good stuff. Yes, that's the end of our the ATS picks. We have a quick look at the Fantasy Game Day winning lineup, preview Thursday Night Football, and then we'll be on our way. I think this is the most dominant Fantasy Game Day winning I've seen. I don't recall there being this much of a gap between first and second place. 35 points between first and second. So congratulations, Ace 647, who won the OG £7.50 Fantasy Game Day. Sunday Stars game, just a reminder, the best and fastest growing UK daily fantasy NFL game. Go sign up now. A variety of different games now. Your traditional Sunday Stars, the dedicated early, dedicated late game, plus the ballers for standalone games, and 3 entry levels for the OG Sunday Star games per lineup, £3, $7.50 or $25. I was so disappointed we didn't cash this week. We were right there. We missed out by 0.2 points.
And like the winner, we didn't have Taysom Hill.
Yeah, so we would have Taysom Hill as well. But just a real solid lineup. So Amon-Ra St. Brown as captain, his 11 catch, 161 yard, 2 touchdown game, paired with Jared Goff. Devin A-Chain, obviously productive afternoon. So did Breece Hall, getting 30 with his 2 touchdowns. Jerry Jeudy, huge difference maker, I think, with his 26. George Pickens had this solid afternoon. Juwan Jennings, that we just mentioned, with 25.1 points. And Dawson Knox with chipping in with 8 as well. Just a dominant lineup from Ace 647.
Sorry, I had to step away during our 49ers Seahawks coverage there a little. I don't know if you covered this. Joe, is Juwan Jennings the 49ers number 1 wide receiver next year? Do you think?
No.
You think Ayuk coming off his ACL?
Possibly. You know what? It's a good question. It's just he's performed like this for the last few years. Has always been like the big third down gun. Yeah, it's just and he signed a contract in the summer, which wasn't actually that crazy. So I don't think he'll be the number one because I think if Kittle plays, I think Kittle would be above him, and I think I don't know if Ayuk could come back healthy just with all the injuries. So it's a good point. I think he's gonna have it could be. It depends what they do with Debo if they get rid of him as well, because I think he still has that allure on the team. But it's a good question.
Cool.
And stuff we went the opposite way with our. We went heavy on, obviously, we went captain Montgomery.
Yes.
And he had a good game. But I didn't think Detroit were going to throw the ball maybe not so much as they did. They didn't exactly throw it 50 times, but I thought their success would come not solely on the ground, maybe, but like predominantly on the ground. Montgomery maybe get 3 touchdowns instead of just 2. But yeah, I didn't really see Amon-Ra getting 160 yards and 2 touchdowns. So yeah, great call by them going the opposite way on that, because I think a lot of people would have went Gibbs or Montgomery as captain, or certainly in their lineup. So
I think what we need to do is take more notice of the picks we make in our preview and use that to build our team.
Well, who did we not put in? Jared Goff? Was he one of them?
Well, Goff or Richardson. I don't know. I suppose we did put in everybody else.
We misestimated how Denver would use the running back.
We did, yeah. Terrible, yeah. That was Sean Payton, and we fell for the Sean Payton bullshit. I say we. That was you, Byron. You were all in on estimate, weren't you?
Well, like you said, to be fair, in the Denver game, and every single fantasy content creator.
Yeah, everybody fell for it. Yeah. Fuck Sean Payton.
And I didn't submit on the lineup.
That's only because you can. All right. Last bit of business. Thursday night football. I've already mentioned the game. It's the Steelers heading to Cleveland to take on the Browns. Steelers are 3.5-point favorites. Over unders 36. It's a disgusting line. Over under line. What are we feeling on this one?
I think I'm going the over on that.
I think it's gonna be bad.
James just going to sling it regardless.
I think it's gonna be bad James though.
Interception TDs
this week.
Yeah,
I'm taking the over, certainly.
Yeah, I'm going over as well.
Hang on, who do you mean it's bad James? He threw for nearly 400 yards and didn't turn the ball over. How was it bad James?
Well, how many points did he put up? 14?
Yeah, I don't think that was on him.
I don't think it's necessarily on him, but like, so what? You threw 400 yards, what does that get you? Empty calories?
And remember, Boswell's playing, he's going to get quite a few points, so, you know.
What do you think he's going to kick 13 field goals to hit the over?
Well, I think I'm going to go over as well, just how bad the Browns' defense was against the Saints. And what does and their tackling was atrocious. And what does Russell Wilson do? The moonballs down the side. So I think I'm going to go the over as well. I really want to go the Steelers, but Byron's put that in my head about this is such a. We always bet on Mike Tomlin underdog, but Mike Tomlin, when he should be like games that they should win away from home, they always lose like all the time. Again, I'm sure Paul's got a record somewhere, and he's like massive Mike Tomlin notebook.
I only have pro Tomlin stats.
Oh, just pro Tomlin, yeah. But I know like that's like a huge thing in Pittsburgh that they always lose to like terrible teams when they should win. So yeah, I'll be tempted to do Pittsburgh and over, but you know.
Yeah, it's
3.5 is so low. Because they normally say 3 points at home is like neutral, so they only it's like half a point, like a couple of points for the Steelers. It just feels way too short, but who knows?
It feels 4 of the last 5 is a road favourite they've covered. Colts was the last one. It was early this year that they didn't, which again we felt like they probably should have won. Yeah, it's just, you're in my head, Byron, as well. I think it's a bit of a trap, but I think I'm probably.
I do like as well, just looking at the early lines here on DraftKings. Cedric Tillman touchdown plus 350. He had a bit of a quiet game yesterday, obviously, but he's still got a lot of targets. I think he's looked really good since he entered the lineup with Jameis. So yeah, I'll probably go with him as a touchdown scorer. He had 8 targets, 3 for 47 yesterday. But I mean, you can still get Judy plus 370 as well, and Joku plus 300. I think even maybe going a couple of those as just like in single bets might be a nice way to go. Elijah Moore, he got another 8 targets. He's plus 450 anytime touchdown. You know, with how much he slings the ball around. And also, did you see who the Browns activated off IR, but he looks like he didn't take a snap?
No.
And spoiler, I mean, you might not have known this guy was on the Browns. I didn't. Kadarius Toney.
Oh,
he is
nice.
plus 1,100 anytime touchdown on Thursday, or 200 to 1 to get 2. So, you know, you bet 200 to 1 at $10, you'll lose $10. So, probably wouldn't do that.
I wonder if a better bet on the Steelers. So, Steelers minus 3.5. Steelers to win by between 1 and 6 is plus 260.
That's nice.
That feels like a better bet than taking the minus 3.5 at minus 110, right?
Yeah.
Steelers to win by between 1 and 6. Anyway, right, yeah, that's Thursday Night Football. That brings us to the end of our Week 11 review. Thanks, gents, for joining me as always. We'll be back on Friday. We've got returning guest Andy Davis joining us. He's going to be telling us all about his recent trip to Miami. He was in Munich covering the International Series game. He's been here, there, and everywhere. So he's going to help us preview Dolphins Patriots and also take on our 4-4 challenge. And we'll be back with our usual picks and preview show on Friday. So thanks for watching, thanks for listening. As always, go follow us. Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover over on Spotify. Follow and you will be notified of new episodes when they drop. YouTube, TikTok. We need Byron. We've not chatted it for weeks.
He's been off his form. Something. I'll see if we can get one tonight. It's really
he's been off his form. He's been off his form. He can't pick a fucking game, but
yeah.
He's been released. He's like these kickers. He's been released.
He's on practice. Is he just on the practice squad?
He's on the practice squad.
Okay.
He's on the practice squad.
And then
we are on Blue Sky as well.
Blue Sky, yes. Twitter, Instagram, the rest of it. At GTW_GTC, where you'll see all of our bets post as well. So, till next time, have a great week.